Good afternoon, Phillies fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Fighting's Final, a Phillies postgame show here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Your boy Matty B back on the call with you this afternoon, and yes, indeed, Phillies today 7-1 listless, lifeless, lacking any kind of offensive creativity, no fight, just the relentless frustration that this offense has turned into, and this team in general has turned into. Dropped yet another series. 18 series losses now so far in 2026 versus 20 series wins. This team is definitely trending towards a 500 type of team, and that's not going to get it done in October. Good afternoon. 7-1 is your final out there in the Big Lou. Zach Wheeler was humming along. I mean, he pitched well for the first 4 innings. Brought it was tied at 1-1 heading into the 5th, and then it all came apart for Wheeler. And the Phillies had nothing offensively. And again, stop me if you've not heard this before. Nothing offensively to throw at them. They managed 1 run on the entire day. And it was a positive run because it was a Luis Arraez RBI double, breaking an 0 for 16. Perhaps maybe the problem with the Luis Arraez is not this Phillies fever nonsense. Well, maybe it is Phillies fever, but maybe he just doesn't belong batting in the 4-hole. I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe Luis Arraez is not accustomed to batting in the 4-hole, and that's not his style. All right? I don't know. You call me Kismet. I don't know, man. But nothing offensively. And same old continues down the pike, and we're going to get into a litany of things tonight surrounding the Phillies pitching. The bullpen also lent itself into creating sort of a little bit of a drop-off. Jose Alvarado continues his masterful 2026 regression season. In the work he did today, 1 hit, 2 runs, 2 earned, 3 walks. 3 walks, and he threw 22 pitches in about a third of an inning. ERA is now up to a healthy 6.14 for Jose Alvarado, who desperately needs to go back to juicing to save the man's career. But yet, we're going to run him out of it. We're going to run him out there every other day to see if we can cash in or tap into something. Getting a little frustrated. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm getting a little frustrated with the use of Alvarado. I'm getting a little frustrated with the continued use of Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff hole. All right, it's become a carrot. It's become a punchline now, right? Talking about Kyle Schwarber and his placement in this batting lineup, or this batting lineup in general. It's beyond a talking point. It's beyond a discussion. It's now entering punchline territory because of just the lack of creativity. Now, again, this is not a secret to people, right? This team is what they were. We knew this going into it. We could go back to Dave Dombrowski and throw some more of the responsibility at his feet for not doing the proper adjustments to change this lineup, to create something new from this lineup, to utilize the players that were here, but to bring better role players in behind them, to try to complement them better. We can go there. And yes, that's deserving. But we are once again stuck with the same. We're going to keep running it out. Kyle Schwarber can't go any lower than 1 or 2. It's not working. It hasn't worked for years. It's never really worked. He's not hitting home runs now. He's not hitting at all. But we're not going to try to change something. I mean, Alec Bohm goes 10 for 10, and they elevate him from 8 to 3. Kyle Schwarber struggles night in, night out, day in, day out, month in, month out, and we don't do nothing with his demotion within the lineup. I'm not a big fan of demoting people or promoting people in lineups based on performance. I'm a big fan of placing them properly in the lineup based on their player profile. And the Phillies have not been able to do that. Or any of that, really. This lineup's unbalanced, unstructured, untraditional. And you're getting the results of that. And again, this is not breaking news. This should not come to a surprise or shock to anybody out there. the offensive inconsistencies and incompetence of this team. Every time it seemed like I looked up at the TV this afternoon, St. Louis has somebody on base. Every time I looked up on the Phillies were at bat, we got a lazy fly ball. We got a foul out, a strikeout. Just nothing. No pressure at all. None put on the St. Louis Cardinal pitching staff today by the Phillies offense. 7-1 your final out there in St. Louis. For those of you that care, and a lot of you seem to care. Yes, Broad Street, it was a very ugly series loss. Number 18, if you're keeping track at home, versus 20 series wins. So we're getting into that 500 territory. Horrible loss. Team needs to get it together. Listen, Elephant, you know me, right? And I've said this from day one. Day one, year one, 2022. The pitching has not been great. The Phillies pitching staff, and this is an interesting stat that I just found out the other day. I was doing this research. Well, not really research, but I compile and I keep stats throughout the season. The Phillies, as a pitching staff, are averaging about 4 walks a game since the second half, since game 82. They're also have given up over 150 home runs since game 82. Since game 82, the Phillies pitching staff has given up over 150 home runs. No, I'm sorry, not 150. They've given up, where is that number? I think 150 on the season. Home runs wise, the Phillies have given up their pitching 51. The pitching staff's given up 51 home runs since game 82. Right? They're giving up about 4 walks a game. Their pitching has not been great, and obviously. But the offense is once again scuttling, and it's not picking up. Those numbers are not awesome. Those numbers are very alarming, especially in the walks. But to me, it always centers around the offense. You know, you're not giving Zach Wheeler any kind of wiggle room today. And yes, the 5th inning was terrible. Wheeler can't have that kind of inning. But the Phillies are giving him no offensive wiggle room at all. Painter was the only good. Yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, you're right. I can honestly say the Phillies no longer care anymore about winning. I disagree. I 100% disagree. I think they care. And I don't know what you mean by that. You mean the organization, the team, the fans? What do you mean by that? That's a really open-ended statement. I obviously think the players care. Right? I do. I think the manager cares. The organization, you know, I think it's time for the organization to step back and look at themselves in the mirror and say they've made some bad decisions with contracts. Right? And unlike bringing in Bryce Harper in 2019, bringing in Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos in 2022, trading for JT Realmuto in 2019, unlike those decisions at the time were great, Trey Turner's contract, another one, but you had a chance this offseason. And I'm going to go right back to the offseason because, again, it started there. This problem didn't start in this current offseason. This problem has always been here, but we had a chance. We had a chance this offseason to go another direction without blowing it up. But they decided to re-sign Schwarber. They decided, due to lack of catching depth within the organization, that JT Realmuto was the best option. They decided not to address the right-handed hitting problem adequately enough and signing a guy like Garcia. They did not move off of Alec Boehm, which obviously might have been the right thing based on the situation with Aiden Miller. Right? But it all really, you know, and again, I'm not saying it's all stemming from this offseason. This is a series of bad off seasons all sort of leading up to it. But they had an opportunity when you could have pivoted off of Kyle Schwarber this past offseason. Freed up that DH spot, taken away a man who apparently has some sort of aversion to batting any lower than leadoff, getting away from that and bringing in somebody, i.e. Pete Alonso, that could, you know, free up that DH spot for a multitude of players, but you went ahead and you decided to go ahead and re-sign Kyle Schwarber. We lose tomorrow. Man, we're already moving on to the Twins series. Tomorrow's the Field of Dreams game. Phillies need to bench Bowman and put Harper back at first. Ay. We're doing this again. In the 2008 and 26 Phillies were all 64 and 56 through 120 games of the MLB season. Yeah, they were, of course. Yeah. Right. But, and every one of those seasons you had sort of question marks about the team and certain aspects of this team. But I don't remember in 7. I don't remember in 2008 looking at the offense with all the question marks that this offense has. Yeah, obviously that wasn't the case. I mean, you don't look at players like Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, and Ryan Howard in 2008 and say that they had the same issues that this group of clowns has. They're all different situations. I guess I don't think we do that again. Oh yeah, well, we might. We don't have fight. And that's no good thing. They don't seem to have fight. Broad Street says they lost their fight. It definitely seems that way. I mean, again, it goes back to that whole, do they care about winning? Do they not care about winning? I think obviously every player cares about winning. They do. But the fight is not there. You're right. And there doesn't seem to be any sort of motivation. And then you got to kind of put Don Mattingly out there in the spotlight on that one. That's his job. If something's not working, he needs to go in and try to fix it. I'm not saying he can fix it, but he's going to have to try to fix it. How about let's start with Luis Arraez not batting fourth? I don't know. Let's go out on a limb there. It might not be the most obvious one. Of course it is. Star Wars has had it with Turner. Real simple, fire Kevin Long. Okay, so Star Wars, fire Kevin Long. I've heard that started coming back up lately. Fire Kevin Long. What about the players, Star Wars? What about the players? We've fired 3 managers throughout this run, right? Well, I'm sorry, we haven't fired 3. We have 3 different managers throughout this run. We have the same players here with the same results. I mean, you put a lot of stock into the hitting coach, I guess. Maybe I don't put enough. Again, you know my philosophy on MLB hitting coaches. It's a job that I would love to have. What do you really teach? If you're teaching someone how to hit at this level, I don't know, man. I don't think that's the case. All you're doing with these guys is saying, hey, your hands are too high. Shoulders are too high. You're not swinging with your hips. You're pulling away. I mean, they're going to sit down and watch video with you. That's all they're going to do. They're not going to sit here and try to recreate the wheel. You're giving Kevin Long way too much credit for this team and their problems. I'm not saying he's not responsible. Of course he is. He's the hitting coach. But I think we're giving him way too much credit. Pitching has not been that good. It's been pretty... I think honestly it'd be better if they missed the postseason altogether, start over, fire the entire coaching staff except Caleb Cobb. And that's going to bring up a whole other issue later on down the line if they don't make the playoffs, is what to do next. And again, Broad Street, I don't think it's as simple as that. You make it sound like all you got to do is go in there and throw a grenade in that room and then start over again. It's not going to be that easy. It's not like we have a bunch of contracts in that room you can just walk away from. You're bringing back it's essentially the same team next year. You are. And there's really, you need to accept that. They're not able to move off of about 5 players that are part of the core of this team. Now, what they'll have an opportunity to hopefully do is find an adequate replacement for Alec Boehm, who is a free agent. They'll have an opportunity again to go out and find another right fielder. They'll have another opportunity to maybe sign a catcher. All right? Maybe you strengthen up that bullpen. But making it sound like it's the coaching staff. Come on, man. I mean, again, I think you're giving them way too much credit. I agree with that one. That might be the biggest move they make this offseason. Geez, you guys are killing me here, man. I got a whole bunch of stuff. I'm way behind on this. All right, so let's get back into this game. Phillies 7-1. Let's move on to the box score. I like to do that Get it out of the way. Phillies, 1 run on 6 measly hits, 1 error. Another error, by the way. Phillies are now up to, I believe, 65. They're 1 error away from tying their error total from last year. And it's, what, mid-August? Cardinals, 7 runs on 8 hits, no errors. Offensive standouts with a fighting Phils, man. Luis Ariz, let's give it to him. Breaking the 0 for 16. Big double and a back-to-back doubles situation. Driving in Bryce Harper, giving the Phillies their only run. He is it. He's the man. Bohm did have 2 hits today, but I'm going to go ahead and give Ariz the credit for being the offensive MVP. Congratulations for breaking out of your streak. Turner, Harper, and let's look at this. Schwarber, Turner, Harper. Top 3 in your lineup. That's 10 at-bats. 1 run, 1 hit, and 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. That was your top 3 in the batting lineup today. That was what they were. They were 2 for 10. I'm sorry. I'm giving them more credit. They were 1 for 10. 1 for 10 with 2 walks, a strikeout, and 1 run scored. It ain't going to get it done. For the Cardinals, the young stud J.J. Weatherholt, 1 for 3. Herrera, 1 for 3. Burleson was 2 for 3. Walker, 1 for 3, and an amazing catch out there in right field. Church, 1 for 3. It was just kind of spread out like that throughout the game. The Cardinals kind of killed you with about a death of 1,000 paper cuts. As I'm going to give it to Weatherholt because I'm a big J.J. Weatherholt fan. I think he's a really good player. Followed him through college. Definitely like the ceiling of that young man. Talked about Wheeler. Rayleigh, Alvarado, and Sugar came in and pitched. Rayleigh and Sugar were okay. Alvarado, that experiment needs to end. The next DFA move I want to see from the Phillies is you got to move on from Alvarado. It's time. The proof is in the pudding. Obviously, it was the juice, right? It's time to say adios, senor. Set him off into the moonlight. Send him on his way. Leahy for the Cardinals got the win. 5 strong, 6 hits, 1 run. It was earned. Struck out 6. Did not walk any. Brujol, Gracefalo. Hey, Jesus God. And Gastelum pitched in relief for the Cardinals. Scoring summary, the Cardinals would get it rolling. Church would double in Walker in the second to make it 1-0. Phillies would get right back into it, as I mentioned, the back-to-back doubles. Harper would double, and then Ariz would come up behind him and double, knocking in Harper to tie things at 1. It remained 1 until the doomed 5th inning. Herrera would get it going, knocking in Pareto to make it 2-1. Then Burleson would double in Herrera and Weatherholt to make it 4-1. Then Walker would double in Burleson to make it 5-1, as that's pretty much all it took there. 7th inning, Burleson would add some insurance, knocking in Weatherholt, and then Church would sack fly Herrera in. Also in the 7th inning, they added 2 more runs off of Alvarado, and that's how you get 7-1. Phillies won for a pitiful 8 with runners in scoring position today. Left 5 on base. Cardinals 5 for 12, batting about 480 with runners in scoring position. They left 7. Phillies grounded into 2 more double plays. 2 more double plays today. That total up now over the last 6 games is now up to 13. In the last 6 games, the Phillies have grounded into 13 double plays. That ain't going to get it done either. And that's how you get 7-1. Drek on top of Drek for the Phillies today out in St. Louis as they prepare now for the Field of Dreams series, which will start, what is it? Tomorrow night out there in Iowa. Bullpen is terrible. He did pitch well. Brooks did pitch well. McFarland, I think, will be good. Just has to get his walks down. Yeah, I guess. I would call up Gage Wood. Why? Why are you going to call Gage Wood up, man? Why? Give me the reason. Other than he's the only other viable option. And that's not a very viable option to call Gage Wood up. Not at this stage of his career. Brooks Raley. Some guys hear the Philly crowd and feel pressure. Others hear it and get stronger. Chase Utley was built for this city. He didn't run from the passion. He fed off it. Congrats. Yeah, absolutely. A little Chase Utley shout out. There you go. We won't make the postseason like this. It's kind of starting to creep in maybe that you might be right. Alonso has 26 homers. He would have been nice. He would have been extremely nice hitting behind Bryce Harper. I just went into that earlier as well. Harper is not going to survive the remainder of the season in right field. Also, let's hope this ends the move Harper to the outfield argument in the future. Yeah, and obviously the Harper thing out there is to make room for a rise. You're right. But he'll survive. I don't know how successful he'll be, but he'll be out there. Donnie Baseball was turning the topper, started off hot and then cooled off. I disagree, Adam. I disagree. Don Mattingly's a hell of a manager. And honestly, if you had to ask me today who I'd want as the manager of the Phillies going forward, Don Mattingly is just about as good as candidate as anybody else. All right? I don't know what you think. Again, we've removed all the other denominators of this problem over the course of the last 4 years. We haven't removed one other. There's one denominator we haven't removed, and that's the players. We've made 3 managerial changes over the last 4 years, so far to the same result. But yet we stick with the players, and you want to blame the manager? Am I seeing this from a different side than you are? Why not the players? Right? Let's give a balanced lineup to the man. Let's give Topper a balanced lineup. Let's give Joe Girardi a balanced lineup. There was no, even back when they put it together in 22, I was like, man, there's a lot of power hitting lefties in this lineup. Is that going to work consistently? Let's give this guy an actual balanced lineup, or Rob Thompson a balanced lineup, and let me see what they can do with that. I guarantee you, friggin' Bobby Cox would have trouble trying to get something out of this group more than what they're getting from Don Mattingly. Why don't we focus our venom where it needs to be focused on, is the players on the field and the person who put them on the field. Lineup would have been more balanced. Yeah, with Alonso, absolutely. That JT contract is problemish. So is the Kyle Schwarber contract. Again, it's okay to speak negatively about Kyle Schwarber until the man takes one for the team, because you're not going to sell me anymore on it's a analytical move. Bull. Kyle Schwarber's not batting lower in the lineup because Kyle Schwarber doesn't want to bat lower in the lineup. And that is something I will blame the manager for, and the president and the GM for allowing that. So yes, the JT contract is problemish. So is the Kyle Schwarber contract. So is the Trey Turner contract. In 08, it was starting pitching quality at the top other than Hamels that concerned me. Right, we weren't talking these types of offensive problems in 08. And I know we weren't talking that, well, I don't know. In 80, I was 7. I don't know what the hell they were talking about, but I know in 08 it wasn't about the offense. We weren't wondering why we're 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position, why we're going down without a fight. In hindsight, I wish JT would have walked. I get why they brought him back. They just don't understand the third year. Well, the third year obviously was it was a panic move. I mean, again, the Bichette thing blew up in their face. They had to pivot somewhere quickly, so they went for JT. And they gave him everything they wanted. Arise should be leading off, or batting second, one or the other. If they move on from Mattingly, I really hope they don't hire Corey. That's my point. I don't know who you think's coming in here and changing this thing. You should be frustrated. I'm not saying you shouldn't be. But, I mean, aside from Jesus, who's going to come in here and remake these players, these are what they are. These are who they are. A bunch of power-hitting people smashed together in a lineup, lefties, and Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm. All right. I mean, that's what they are. I don't know what you think that another manager is going to get. And again, I understand the frustration. And I know there's a lot of questions about this of why, if we can identify it or if we see it, then why isn't it getting fixed? I get that. I get that frustration. But Baseball's not that easy when it comes to stuff like that. And again, I don't think we know the whole story when it comes to Kyle Schwarber and the leadoff stuff. I swear to God, we don't know the whole story. Ricky Bo is done with Alvarado. Him along with a lot of other people. This is bad. It is, Jose. I agree. Cardinals with the hardest names. Yeah, they have. What the hell was that, man? Are the Cardinals the team with the oddest names? Yes. Yes, they are. But I would take J.J. Weatherholt. God, I'd take him. I'd take, if we move on from Donnie, I want Dave Martinez, won the World Series with the Nationals. Okay, did Dave Martinez win the World Series, or did the Washington Nationals win the World Series? You guys give these managers way too much freaking credit, man. Way too much credit. I guess you fall into that category of people that Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl, not the Eagles, right? It was Jalen Hurts, all Hurts. Arise should be hitting second. Schwarber at cleanup. Only the true baseball guy on the team is Stott, and that's really not very good. If that's who that really is, I'm sorry. No, it's fine. All right, so let's go to the Broad Street bottom line. All right, the Broad Street bottom line here on the Fighting's Final this afternoon is brought to you by the It's a Wrap Sports Network. And here's what's on tap tonight and the rest of the week on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Tonight, I'll be back at 10 o'clock. Final word will be here. So we'll continue this conversation. We'll get into the Eagles and the Eagles social media team putting a Jalen Hurts interception up on their I love it, man. We'll get into the Eagles. We'll get into Sixers, Flyers, whatever you want to talk about tonight at 10 o'clock on the Final Word. Tomorrow will be the much anticipated Field of Dreams game out there in Iowa, Phillies Twins, and then I'll be back tomorrow night for the Final Word. Friday is the Philly Friday Frenzy. No Phillies action on Friday as they'll transition from Iowa to Minnesota to finish up that series. And then Saturday, the best of the It's a Wrap Sports of the week, starting at 8. Fighting's Final, Phillies post-game with the Twins, and then the Birds flyby, Phillies Ravens preseason kickoff. Oh yeah, by the way, I just found this out not more than 10 minutes ago. Tomorrow night, is tomorrow Wednesday? No, today's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. What time did he say? There's going to be because really the preseason kicks off in earnest tomorrow, right? Around the NFL. So at 5:30-ish, 5:45-ish tomorrow night, Steel City Sunday will return for a Steelers preseason preview as they'll be playing tomorrow night. So join John Phillips this whole kickoff season 2 of the Steel City Sunday program tomorrow at around 5:45 with a little preseason pregame of his own. And then I guess I said on Saturday, I will be you're gonna get a lot of me on Saturday. I'm gonna be I'll be doing the postgame Phillies Twins, and then I'm gonna transition to the Birds flyby, and I'll be doing the Eagles postgame. So a lot of Matty B on Saturday. So hope you guys can get used to that. But the Broad Street bottom line, simply put, I'm running out of. I guess I'm running out of patience. I'm running out of patience for sticking my face in the fan and getting hurt. Right? I expect that every time I do, when I put my face in the fan, it's not going to hurt, but I'm realizing that it is. And that's what's happening with this offense. Every time we run out this group in this configuration, we're expecting some sort of change. We might get a little bit of a burst here and there. But the consistent change is not going to happen. There needs to be some radical, creative tweaks done to this lineup within the boundaries of what you can work with, because you can't add any more players. But you got to find a way somehow to get creative, to salvage what's left of the regular season, try to get this team to the playoffs, and maybe hopefully whatever they do to salvage that and it works, it can click. But this offensive configuration, this offensive approach, it's just not doing it. And it's not going to get it done. We've already known this. in circles that we don't want to talk about, at parties we don't want to talk about. We've already talked about this over and over again. This is not working anymore. And I know you can't change it wholesale in August, but you got to find a way to light a fire somehow under this team and move people around the lineup. You just got to get Luis Ariz out of the 4-hole, put Alec Bohm on the bench, and just start with that. Just start with that. Something's got to change. Oh, man. Where am I at here? We can't change the players so we can change which the GM and the coach. What? We can't change the players so we can change what we can, which is the GM and the coaches. Well, first of all, you want to fire Preston Mattingly? What did he do? Dave Dombrowski's not the GM. He's the president of baseball operations. All right? But again, I get your point. You're right. We can't change the players. And yeah, I mean, obviously, if we don't make the playoffs, and even if they do make the playoffs, anything short of winning a World Series, is Dave Dombrowski's job really safe? And honestly, how are they going to pitch that if they do decide to bring him back? I mean, good Lord, I don't think they should do that. But you're right. You're absolutely right. I think they should call up Gage Wood. What is he? Is he going to bat fourth? Is he going to be inserted into our batting lineup? I mean, again, what do you expect Gage Wood to do? I said realistic changes. I do. They do. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. We all are. I don't know what that means. That's why I haven't gone to a game yet. Someone have to have a Lou Brown moment in the clubhouse. Whatever. I think it's beyond that. I think it's about saying you're not doing it. You're moving down to this spot in the lineup. You're not doing it. You're sitting down. I think it's beyond the the motivational time. Now it's time to start holding people accountable. Well, it's beyond time to hold people accountable. All right, let's go around the bases on your Wednesday afternoon. All right, games that have gone final so far this afternoon. It was the Twins. It was the Rays 8-4 over the Athletics, 7-5 Twins over the Orioles. Games that are still ongoing. They've gone to the bottom of the 7th in Arizona, 6-2 Rockies over the D-backs. Moving to the top of the 8th in San Francisco, it's 2-1 Astros over the Giants. They're in the top of the 7th in San Diego, 2-1 Brewers over Padres. Games that will start a little bit later. Guardians are in Detroit against the Tigers. Pirates are going down to South Florida to play the Marlins. Cubs are in the nation's capital to battle the Nats. It is the Mariners in the Bronx against the Yankees. Red Sox north of the border against the Jays. Mets and Braves. It's the Reds at the White Sox, the Rangers at the Angels, and rounding it out today, it's the KC Royals visiting the Dodgers out in LA. And that is your scores currently around Major League Baseball. And yes, tomorrow we are moving on to Iowa. Iowa in his house. Aaron Nola will be battling Tage Bradley. 7:30 start time out in Iowa. Field of Dreams game live on Netflix, folks. Make sure you get your Netflix accounts, your free trials set up now, so you can hop on there and check that thing out. Phillies will be wearing their retro 1942 circa uniforms, and the Minnesota Twins don't have a 1942 uniform, so I don't know what they're wearing. Maybe they'll wear their 1960 retro. I don't know what they're wearing, and maybe they'll wear an inspired 1942 uniform. But they're going to go back old school for this one, which is going to be good. Old school theme with new school crappy analytic baseball. Ooh, where do I sign up? All right. So Phillies lose 7-1. Don't forget tonight, I'll be back at 10 o'clock with the final word. That's right. The final word is returning tonight. Catch me while you can on that. So tonight at 10, I'll be back. We'll continue this conversation and much, much more on the final word. And then we talked about what's happening with the rest of the the week on the network. Here's what's coming up on the Titans final for your Twins series. Mike Laro will have the Field of Dreams game, and then I'll be going back-to-back on Saturday and Sunday to finish out the series against the Twins. So there you have it. There you have it. And make sure you're tuned in for the Phillies post-game extravaganza after every Phillies game. Phillies lose 7-1, lose the series, 18th series loss. Is it time to press the panic button? Oh, yeah. You guys have a great rest of your night. I'll see you later on the final word. Good night.